Deported at 85. An 85-year-old French widow's life was turned upside down when a bitter estate dispute with her stepson took a drastic turn. The widow, who had lived in the U.S. for decades, found herself at the center of a heated family conflict that would ultimately lead to her arrest and deportation by ICE. The dispute over her late husband's estate had been ongoing, but she never expected it to escalate to this point, setting off a chain of events that would change her life forever. The estate row between the 85-year-old French widow and her stepson had been simmering for years, but things took a turn for the worse when the stepson discovered that his father's will left the majority of the estate to his stepmother. Feeling entitled to the inheritance, the stepson began to take drastic measures to ensure he got what he wanted. He started by contesting the will, claiming that his father was not of sound mind when he wrote it. When that didn't work, he took matters into his own hands, reporting his stepmother to the authorities for alleged immigration violations. It's claimed that the stepson's greed and desire for the estate's assets drove him to use any means necessary to get rid of his stepmother, including involving ICE. The stepson's actions ultimately led to the widow's arrest, and as the situation escalated, it became clear that family conflict and greed can have devastating consequences. The stepson's actions were seen as a ruthless attempt to remove his stepmother from the picture and claim the estate for himself, highlighting the darker side of family dynamics and the importance of considering the human impact of such conflicts. The circumstances of the widow's deportation are particularly disturbing, as she was taken from her home in the dead of night, still wearing her nightgown. This concrete example highlights the inhumane treatment she received at the hands of ICE. The fact that an 85-year-old woman was not given the dignity of dressing or gathering her belongings before being forcibly removed from her home is a stark illustration of the severity of the situation. The stepson's actions, driven by greed and a desire for control, had ultimately led to this moment, where his stepmother was being treated like a criminal rather than a vulnerable elderly person. The lack of compassion and understanding shown by ICE in this situation is appalling, and it raises important questions about the way we treat our most vulnerable citizens. The widow's deportation in her nightgown is a powerful symbol of the devastating consequences of family conflict and the often inhumane application of deportation policies. As we reflect on the story of the 85-year-old French widow, it's clear that her life was turned upside down by a combination of family greed and a complex web of deportation policies. The estate row that began as a dispute over inheritance escalated into a full-blown conflict, ultimately leading to her arrest and deportation in the dead of night. This shocking tale serves as a stark reminder of the human impact of family conflicts and deportation policies, highlighting the need for empathy and understanding in such situations. The widow's story is a powerful example of how quickly things can go wrong when greed and conflict are allowed to escalate. At its core, this story teaches us that the consequences of our actions can be devastating, and it's essential to consider the human impact of our decisions. Ultimately, the story of the French widow deported in her nightgown tells us that family conflicts and deportation policies can have far-reaching and devastating consequences, and it's crucial to approach such situations with compassion and care, remembering that the consequences of our actions can be life-altering.